Hello and welcome to Sports Lumo's preview of the match between IPL 2021 match between Rajasthan Royals and Kolkata Knight Riders. I'm Shritama. I have Arnab Mukherjee with me uh, for discussing the preview for the match. Now, teams have played eight teams have played at least four matches so far. KKR and RR are not looking good. They have just won one game each, one game apiece. And definitely, momentum is not going to help them. Like, no team has a particular advantage over the other, if you look at it. But, as far as momentum is concerned, but so far, what Arnav, what we have seen of KKR and RR, you think that KKR's last performance against CSK, it was like brilliant at the same venue, so at Wankhede. So do you think that is going to, amp up their confidence against RR, who are a little, their loss against RCB wasn't quite promising in any way. So do you think that RR is falling behind and KKR are showing some signs? So that's going to be a factor in the game?
I think certainly because if you look at KKR's performance against CSK, you rightly mentioned what a brilliant comeback by the team out there. That is certainly going to have an impact on the mental side of things, and they will have more confidence in Rajasthan Royals. But when I look at both the teams, they are making the same mistakes over and over again. With regard to the Kolkata Knight Riders, barring Nitish Rana, I don't see any player who is trying to take initiative and get the job done. Even with regard to bowling, they have been struggling off late. With regard to Rajasthan Royals, there is too much reliance on Josh Butler and Sanju Samson to go out there and get the job done. Because when you look at Manan Vora, he's got umpteen chances. But like yesterday, there was this brilliant opportunity for him to go out and express himself. But he could not do that, and that really cost the team big. Because when you look at Devdutt Padikkal and Ruturaj Gaikwad, these are the players, the promising talents who actually express themselves really well out there in recent matches for their respective franchises. Maybe Vora should try to take a leaf out of their book. And when it comes to Chris Morris, I think Chris Morris should be taking more initiative with the ball because in the absence of somebody like a Ben Stokes and Lime Livingston, he's one of the most experienced campaigners, I believe. And he's also expected to go out and lead the team on to victory. But with regard to his performance against Royal Challengers Bangalore, uh, Mr. Harsha Bhogle, I believe, he made this remark that Sanju Samson would certainly be very frustrated with the outlook and performance of his bowlers like Chris Morris because they were not exactly bowling to plan, and Morris especially was quite wavered with his bowling performances out there. So these are major areas of concern, and it does not basically extend to simply this game. When you compare with regard to other teams out there, barring Punjab Kings, a team like Mumbai Indians or Royal Challengers Bangalore, KKR and Rajasthan Royals they certainly feel they are certainly bearing a very poor look in comparison. They don't look like they are well stacked in comparison, and that might well go on to cost them another playoff spot. So unless they want to suffer the same pain which they experienced even in the 2020 edition, they better buck up, I guess.
Um, So, what changes would you want in both teams, considering that they are, of course, both KKR and RR, not really KKR, but more RR, they are so dependent. They have an Indian captain, but they are so dependent on their foreign players. And yet they don't have like the foreign players who can actually, help them win because there's no Ben Stokes anymore. There's a lot of pressure on Butler. Chris Morris is not like he's their highest like signing and he's not doing his job pretty well. I mean, now without Jofra Archer as well, before he comes back, there is so much pressure on particular players because this is not like a team performance, right? There needs to be something more. So what changes do you want to see? And so many players have also left. So do you think that RR need to find replacements soon, given the pandemic and the logistics involved?
See, I don't think they can go for a overseas replacement or trying to get a player from outside because of the quarantine quarantine issues. The player has to spend a certain amount of time in a quarantine kind of a scenario, and that's going to cost him. when it comes to appearance in a particular important game and stuff. So I think the main option would be trying to find the best pick from the existing players. I would suggest dropping somebody like a Manan Vora and promoting Shivam Dubey to the top of the order, to the opener slot, I guess. Because when we observe with regard to what we observe with regard to Ben Stokes, he was promoted to the opener slot and he was excellent out there. Because before being promoted, not many people knew about his capability of even excelling as an opener. He was more often than not looked at as a middle order or a finisher, kind of a alternative out there. But then Shivam Dubey, he was excellent against Royal Challengers Bangalore, and I feel that given a certain number of balls to face out there, given a chance to express himself, he could be a match winner. I would suggest bringing in somebody like a Mahipa Lomro, who would certainly be a very good all-round option, I believe, and he would lend some further balance. At the same time, I would also like to see Chris Morris pushed up the order because I don't think he's getting as many balls to face as he should be. And in the Rajasthan Royals team, considering the absence of a player like Ben Stokes, there is no reason for him to be shunted down the order. Maybe he could go on to, play that game-changing knock, which propels them on to
Yeah,
a win. Maybe at the same level as somebody like a Pat Cummins or an Andrew Russell. You never know. You would
yeah. Chris
certainly.
Morris. Yeah.
Yeah, please continue.
No, I'm just saying Chris Morris does have that ability in himself. And also Stokes had I would say that Stokes was more of a batsman. Like definitely, like his bowling had in T20s is not that good anyway. So he was a batting asset, and like losing batsmen like Livingston and Ben Stokes, like RR really needs someone up there in the middle order, at least in the lower middle order. So next, like going to KKR, we have already spoken about RR. Do you think that KKR needs someone like a Lockie Ferguson in the team?
Yeah, certainly. I guess you'll be the happiest if I suggest the inclusion of Lockie Ferguson. That is certainly something which they should look at because he would be a very fine option if we consider his performance last season against SRH. And I would also advocate bringing in somebody like a Harbhajan Singh because the experience he's got, I was shocked to see him rested recently because he may be touching 40, but then at the same time, the amount of experience he's got, the variations up his sleeve, he would certainly bring a lot of variety and he would also give a more potent look to the spin attack out there. Because against RCB, Varun Chakravarti was the main weapon. But after his quota of overs got over, the team basically looked like they were struggling, and Harbhajan could have been a very valuable option. I mean, I've been very shocked to see Harbhajan given only 1 or 2 overs by skipper Ian Morgan in the past. That is certainly something which they need to look to change and give a more vital role, I believe, because he's somebody who's been a part of CSK, Mumbai Indians, and he's been a part of teams which have gone on to get glory. So he could very well make the difference, getting a big hitter out there. Somebody like Chris Morris, I believe, he could very well make the difference, and his inclusion is a must.
Well, KKR have already got their power hitter, the X factor with the bat in Pat Cummins. Lockie would be. Ajay, you were talking about Harbhajan, and yeah. So where do you see like Lockie fitting in? Like who goes out for Lockie and for Harbhajan, obviously, but then talking about overseas quota first, who would like Lockie replace in the side?
Well, that is certainly something which I cannot answer at this point of time because they have got some capable players out there. And I will leave the burden upon the team management. They will need to figure a way out. But then Loki, like when you see the Sunrisers Hyderabad team management, even they struggled a lot to fit in Kane Williamson. But ultimately, he was brought back and he made the difference in the previous game against Punjab Kings. So I feel Lockie Ferguson, he could well, bring the same difference because when you see his performances in the T20 format, they have been really excellent out there. So I cannot suggest any option at this point of time who could be dropped because Nareen, Russell, Morgan, all these players they are game changers. And Cummins, of course, in the last game he was exceptional out there. Of course, his performance with the ball it was an area of concern. Like he himself admitted, if he had bowled maybe 1 over in a better manner, the game could have tilted towards KKR. But it's certainly difficult to bench any of these players considering the their performances and the manner in which they can change a game single-handedly. So
Yeah, I think the management is trying to, just give these players a chance, keep giving them chances. And I think maybe it's Wankhede. The reason that they are dropping Harbhajan, because it's certainly not resting him. They're definitely dropping him for someone else. So I don't know. Maybe that can still KKR can still give a thought about it. But getting in Loki is very important because he's a high profile foreign player. I mean, and a very very able pacer. Like he's a proper wicket taker. He will concede runs, but he's a proper wicket taker. And if you don't play him in Wankhede, then why have him in the squad? So like totally what do you see like in talking about the match that is going to start, the KKR versus RR match? What do you think the outcome will be?
I would go with KKR maybe because they have got some players who are coming on the back of a good performance, the likes of Russell, Pat Cummins, and Russell he was really furious with himself after being dismissed by Sam
Yeah.
Curran. So maybe the Rajasthan Royals bowlers they could be subjected to another tormenting experience by somebody like Andy Russell. Even Pat Cummins he could be pushed up the order. Ian Morgan he was recently questioned uh, you know uh, about his performances, which were not at that level so far. So certainly he could go on to smash a couple
Batting
of
form.
yeah. So he could go on to smash a couple of sixes himself. So I would go with KKR at this point of time, but I would never rule out Rajasthan Royals because Sanju Samson on his day he can be absolutely magnificent, and Sanju Samson he will also be feeling the pressure of captaincy because they've got somebody like Kumar Sangakkara out there in the team management, and he's somebody who's a hard taskmaster. He will demand results because at the end of the day he's been brought in by the team management to go out there and get the job done. So Samson will be feeling the pressure, I believe, and many players they come out roaring when pushed to the spot. So certainly KKR have an advantage, but I would never rule out RR.
Yeah, definitely. The thing you said about Sangakkara and Samson, I mean, they are both wicketkeeper batsmen. They have both led teams. So of course, there'll be pressure on Samson, but there will be an understanding imparted. Just not, disappointment, but there will be some good, relatable knowledge, experience imparted to Samson from Sangakkara that would really help him. Next, okay. So since we were talking about Loki, I just missed that one point. I would say since Pat Cummins is in such a good batting form, and Andre Russell has found back his mojo, we are like hoping he has. So I would say, why not drop Shakib and play Loki?
Yeah, certainly seems like a very worthy option at this point of time because the bowling certainly is missing a bit of bite out there, and Lockie Ferguson he can be unplayable on his day. So certainly a worthy option I would consider.
But they have to, of course, build a team. Like the 11 must be covering all bases. So that's why if you think this way, this is the most feasible option. But okay, so the last bit would be, who is going to be the X factor in both teams? One X factor each.
I think with regard to KKR, it would certainly be Andrew Russell because he is a power dynamo. He can be absolutely bonkers out there on the field with the bat. And for the Rajasthan Royals, it would certainly be Sanju Samson because Samson, he honestly he can be as destructive as Russell. Like in the first match against Punjab Kings, the century which he smashed, certainly it was awe-inspiring. Some powerful shots. So these two would be my candidates for the game changers out there.
Perfect, perfect. So let's I mean, we are all looking forward to a great, great, great contest, hoping that like there will be some exciting batting performances. But I really want to see I really want to see a Lockie Ferguson playing for KKR and just picking those wickets, like conceding runs, but still picking wickets. I would really want to see a real good fight between the two teams that are like lagging behind right now. but one team will go forward. So it's all good. See you then. Goodbye.